and in today's video we're going to be talking about a very creepy story about a treehouse, and we're also going to be talking about some haunted forests around the world. Now I know I've said this a million times, but if you're new here, the reason why my voice is so echoey right now is because I recently moved into a new house, so there's no furniture anywhere and my voice is just bouncing off the walls. Also, I am wearing a shirt that has an alien in a spaceship on it and he says, "Hello." This is actually me. It's a self-portrait. Alright guys, let's just jump right into this video. The first story is called the Twisted Treehouse. Now, if anybody has a treehouse that is watching this, I'm sorry if this freaks you out. I'm really sorry. I've actually never had a treehouse and I always wanted one. So if you have one, I'm so jealous of you. There's a story about a girl who had a very strange treehouse in her backyard when she was growing up. And she never knew who built it because when she moved into her new house, it was already there. Someone had already built it prior. It did look very old though, and her dad was guessing it was probably around 50 years old. And up close, someone had carved eyes all up the tree trunk and they looked incredibly realistic. So whenever she looked out at her treehouse from her window, it would almost look like it was staring back at her because of all those eyes around it. Now, the weirdest part about all of this is whenever she went outside and climbed up into the treehouse and lied down, she felt as though it was literally spinning, which is obviously impossible. The treehouse is built to stay still, but she swore it was happening to her and it almost made her very dizzy. And another weird thing is that whenever she would climb back down from the treehouse, hours would have gone by, even though to her it felt like only 5 minutes. She would tell her parents about the treehouse moving, but they would never believe her. She said that sometimes it would even hum to her as it spun her around, almost as if to put her to sleep. Well, the girl got older, and when she turned 20, she moved away to college. And another 10 years passed after that, and her parents eventually sold that house. So she hadn't seen her old treehouse in such a long time and she almost missed it. She decided to take her own kids there when they were old enough to climb up the tree. And as they laid down inside it, she watched from outside as it slowly twisted them around. And in that moment, she knew that everything she felt and saw was real when she was a kid. The treehouse actually spun around. It's almost like this treehouse was acting like a motherly figure. Like it would literally hum to them and spin them around like to put them to sleep. The tree was like rocking the kids in her arms. So I know this is not a super scary story, but I found it to be a very odd story to read because you never really hear about like a motherly figure treehouse, you know what I mean? I'm almost wondering if maybe one of the old owners of the house had passed away, and like I always say, spirits can latch on to things that they're emotionally connected to, and maybe this spirit attached to the treehouse, maybe she was a mother, and maybe this was her way of being able to still hold kids in her arms. That's so sad. Alright, so with that being said, we're gonna move on to some haunted forests around the world. The first one is Highgate Cemetery in London. There's a forest that surrounds Highgate Cemetery in London, and the site was established in the mid-1800s and became neglected and unattended by the end of World War II. So the whole place is overgrown, there's like weeds and trees coming up all through the graveyard, the stones are broken. It's just completely abandoned. It started off as a place that no one really visited, but then people started filming horror movies there in the 1970s. And because horror movies were filmed there, the site became more popular because people wanted to come visit where their favorite horror movie was filmed. Now this is where it gets a little bit strange. Many people would claim to see a creature hovering over the gravestones, like literally just crouched, sitting on top of gravestones. People assumed that it might have been a vampire just by the way it looks. Some people claim to have seen teeth, some people claim to have seen like blood dripping down. So vampire hunters literally started going to this gravesite hoping to catch vampires. And yes, real vampire hunters are a thing. There are people out there who really do believe in vampires. I mean, I am one. But the problem with vampire hunters going to this gravesite is that they were frequently digging out the graves with old skeletons in there. So yeah, this graveyard is just a mess, but it's also like beautiful at the same time. Next, we have the Black Forest in Germany. Isn't that an ice cream? Black Forest? A cake, maybe? Hardly any sunlight breaks through the dense fir trees of the Black Forest, and myths surrounding these woods are more fantastical than paranormal. So there are more stories about fantasy creatures living in this forest than ghosts. So people have claimed to see the headless horseman in this forest. There's also this story about this king who kidnaps women and brings them down under the ground to his lair where he hangs out with fairies. Yeah. People have seen dwarves running around, people have seen werewolves. It seems like this forest is just packed with mythological creatures. What's so interesting is that the Grimm brothers actually based their stories around this exact forest. And you guys know all about the creepy stories they used to write in their book. So I would want to go to this forest just because the Grimm brothers got their inspiration from it. I love the Grimm brothers. Next we have the Island of the Dolls in Mexico. Hidden among the area's many canals, the site is famous for the hundreds of dolls and doll parts hanging from trees and scattered among the grass. The island used to be the home of a man named Julian Santa Barrera, and when he moved in there, he unfortunately found the body of a young girl floating around the canal. So he collected and displayed toys in the hopes of warding off evil spirits. So today this island is thought to be haunted by the ghost of this girl that was found in the water, and local legend even states that the dolls have been heard whispering to each other, moving their heads and arms and opening their eyes. So it's just a very eerie place to be, especially if you know the history about what happened there. And like I say, tragedy brings on paranormal activity. Next we have the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. The heavily forested Pine Barrens spans over 1 million acres and 7 counties in New Jersey. And the most popular Pine Barrens resident is without a doubt the Jersey Devil. Now this is a creature that lingers around this area. And according to urban legend, this creature was born in 1735 to a woman named Deborah Leeds. It was her 13th child and it had leathery wings, a goat's head, and hooves. So this woman literally gave birth to this creepy creature called the Jersey Devil in the 1700s. So creepy. It has been killing livestock and creeping out South Jersey residents ever since it was born. It has been reported to move quickly and is often described as emitting a high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. So it's definitely something you do not want to see, but fortunately for you, if you're ever walking through this forest, you will hear it scream first. So hopefully that'll give you enough time to run away. Next we have Cameron Park in Texas. Cameron Park has several spots that are reported to be paranormal hot zones, including a staircase called Jacob's Ladder, which is extremely hard to climb and is extremely steep. The stairs are haunted by what people call the grabbing ghost. So literally as you're climbing these staircases, you'll feel something grab onto your clothing trying to pull you down. Like this ghost literally tries to make you fall off Jacob's Ladder. But perhaps the most well-known site is the Witch's Castle, a name given to these crumbling ruins found deep in the park. According to one story surrounding the castle is that it's the former house of a woman suspected of witchcraft in the late 1800s. So some people claim this witch's spirit will wander around the park, especially near the ruins of her old house, so it's very eerie to see, obviously. And lastly, we have the Dowhill Forest. Near Kurseong, a town in the West Bengal region of India, is a long since abandoned Victorian boys' school that is thought to be the most haunted place in India. People who have hiked around here or have visited this abandoned school have claimed to see a lot of paranormal activity. Some hear the sounds of footsteps echoing through the school, and others report seeing a headless boy walking the path through the forest. I mean, there's nothing scarier than seeing a headless ghost. You know what I mean? Ghosts are already scary, but if they're missing their head, no thank you. I want to go home. Anyway, so guys, those are all of the haunted forests I'm going to be talking about today, and I really wanted to include that treehouse story into this video because, you know, forests are trees, treehouses are trees, you know. And if you have a treehouse at your house, spend some time there. Those sound just so awesome. Anyway, so guys, those are all the things I'm going to be talking about today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!